Welcome to Ancient Mythology for Sleep, the channel that helps you drift into peaceful rest each night. Tonight's story, What It Was Like to Guard Apollo's Oracle at Delphi for Sleep, narrated by Shelby. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let the ancient world carry you. The world is still dark. When your eyes open, you do not need a clock. Your body knows the hour by the particular quality of silence that precedes dawn at the sanctuary. It is the hour. When the veil between waking and sleeping grows thin, when the mountain itself seems to hold its breath, you rise from your simple cot in the small chamber adjoining the main temple. Your feet find the cool stone floor before your mind fully catches up with waking. The sensation anchors you stone beneath your soles, the faint echo of centuries in its texture. You have walked this floor 10,000 times, perhaps more. Your feet know every grain, every worn place where pilgrims' sandals have shuffled in supplication. The oil lamp on your shelf is already prepared from the evening before. You strike the flint with practiced ease, and the spark catches. A small flame blooms, no larger than your thumb. And suddenly the darkness is not absolute. Shadows leap and settle on the walls around you. In this moment, in this light, you are awake, you dress slowly. There is no hurry. The sanctuary will not fill with pilgrims for hours yet. Your tunic is simple linen, dyed a pale blue, that the priests say honors Apollo's dominion over the clear sky. A linen cord cinches it at your waist. Your feet slide into sandals worn soft from years of use. Everything about this ritual is the same as it was yesterday, and the day before, and all the days you can remember. This sameness is not a burden. It is a rhythm. It is a prayer in itself. Lamp in hand, you move into the corridor, and as you listen, let the stone corridors of the ancient sanctuary surround you. Let the warmth of that small lamp fill your chest, and feel the weight of your body settling, just as it settles now, into the deep quiet of the sacred dark. The sanctuary of Apollo at Delphi is vast. Though most people never see most of it, they come for the oracle, they wait in the outer courtyard, they receive their cryptic answers, and they leave. But you have the keys to everywhere. You have the responsibility for everywhere. Your fingers brush the cool wall as you walk, finding your way as much by memory as by lamplight. The temple's inner passages are narrow, deliberately so. The architects who built this place understood that the sacred requires a certain compression, a certain narrowing of the world around you. As you move deeper into the sanctuary, the rest of the world falls away. There are no windows here. There is only the stone, the lamplight, and the sense of something vast and watchful dwelling in the darkness beyond your small circle of gold. You reach the first shrine, a small alcove set into the eastern wall, dedicated to Apollo in his role as healer. A bronze statue stands within, only waist-high but exquisitely rendered. Apollo's face is calm, idealized, almost inhuman in its perfection. His left hand holds a lyre. His right hand is raised in blessing or benediction. Even in the lamplight, his eyes seem to follow you. You light the oil lamp that hangs from a bronze chain before him. Your hands move with the familiarity of ritual. The wick catches. Flames bloom in the small bowl of sacred oil, and suddenly Apollo is illuminated. The bronze gleams, golden light plays across his features, and for just a moment, in the way of these things, it seems that the statue takes a breath. You murmur the simple words you always murmur, no formal prayer, just an acknowledgement. I am here. The sanctuary wakes, all is well. Then you move on. The next shrine is dedicated to Apollo as protector of flocks. Here, a smaller bronze depicts him standing with a shepherd's crook. his divine form rendered in a pose of such gentle authority that you find your eyes lingering. You light this lamp too, then the next. And the next. The lamps are spaced throughout the sanctuary, and by the time you have lit them all, the darkness has transformed. Where there was only shadow, there is now a web of soft golden light. The sanctuary has awakened around you like a sleeping thing roused gently by a beloved hand. The shadows are still present, they always will be, in these ancient stone passages, but they are no longer absolute. They are somehow companionable now, the darkness that frames and makes precious the light. You feel yourself becoming heavier, your breath deepening with each step through these lamplit corridors. Your thoughts growing softer, more distant, like the far edge of a dream just beginning to form. You move through the treasury next, where the sanctuary keeps its most precious objects. These are small rooms carved deep into the mountainside itself, their walls lined with offerings from centuries of pilgrims. Kings have left gifts here. Generals have donated the spoils of victory. Ordinary people have brought what they could afford, small carved figurines, painted pottery, even simple stones inscribed with prayers. The air in these rooms is different. It is cooler, yes. But it is something more than that. It is thick with time. You can feel it pressing gently against your skin, the accumulated weight of all the prayers ever spoken in this place. It does not feel heavy. Rather, it feels like being held. You move slowly through the treasury, lighting the lamps here as well. Your role as caretaker includes more than just illumination. Throughout the day, you will clean and preserve these sacred objects. You will repair what has been damaged. You will arrange new offerings in their proper places. You will ensure that the sanctuary remains a fitting dwelling place for the divine presence that pilgrims come seeking. But first, there is the main temple. You save the great central shrine for last. The way you always do. By the time you reach it, the eastern sky has begun to pale. The darkness outside the high narrow windows is transforming from black to deep blue to something approaching gray. Dawn is still minutes away, but it is coming. The day is gathering itself like an indrawn breath. The main temple is vast compared to the small shrines. Its ceiling rises high above your head, disappearing into shadow even with your lamp lit. The columns that support it are painted in faded blues and golds, patterns that once must have been brilliant, now worn by centuries into something more subtle and therefore more moving. Your footsteps echo as you move toward the altar. Let your mind drift into the great open space of this ancient hall, where your footsteps are the only sound, where the columns rise around you like silent, faithful companions, where there is nothing required of you but to be present and to breathe. At the center of the temple stands the great statue of Apollo himself. This is not like the smaller bronzes in the outlying shrines. This sculpture is enormous. Carved from marble so white, it seems almost to glow in the lamplight. Apollo stands in his eternal pose, youthful, beautiful, perfectly proportioned according to the ideal of divine beauty. His robes drape in perfect folds. The lyre in his hand is rendered in such detail that you can see the individual strings, but it is his face that commands attention, even after 10,000 viewings. Your eyes are drawn to it. His gaze is fixed on something beyond the immediate world, focused on something distant and eternal that mortal eyes cannot follow. He is not looking at you, and yet his presence is absolute. Standing before this sculpture, you are always aware that you are in the presence of something greater than yourself, whether that something is the God himself, or simply the artist's perfect capture of divine essence, is a question you have learned not to ask. The effect is the same either way. You light the great lamp that hangs before the statue. This lamp is larger than the others, a bronze vessel of considerable beauty. The wick is thicker. The oil burns differently, casting a larger circle of light. The light that fills this lamp is warm. A deep, living amber that pulses very gently with each small movement of air in the temple. That warmth spreads outward in waves, touching the marble columns, gilding the pale stone floor, reaching across the great hall until the very edges of the room feel held within something soft and golden and kind. The statue is suddenly before you in full illumination, and Apollo's eyes seem to focus, to come alive, to acknowledge your presence even as they gaze past you at something else entirely. "Good morning, Lord," you murmur, and the words echo slightly in the great space. Another day begins. The sanctuary is ready. You remain standing there for a moment, not in prayer exactly, but in acknowledgement. The sky beyond the high windows has brightened enough now that the first suggestion of true dawn light is visible. The transition between night and day is always the liminal time at a sanctuary like this. The moment when the boundary between the sacred and the mundane is thinnest. You have always believed that the gods are closest at these transitional hours, dawn and dusk. The moments when the world is still deciding what it will be. The thought brings you a quiet peace. The warmth surrounds you. The warmth of lamplight and rising dawn and ancient stone that holds the heat of 10,000 mornings within it. And you feel that peace moving through you now as well, settling into your shoulders, your hands. The slow, easy rhythm of your breathing. When you finally turn from the great statue, the eastern sky is blushing rose and gold. The stars that were bright just an hour ago are fading. The sanctuary around you is suffused with the complex light of early morning, neither the blue darkness of deep night nor the full brightness of day, but something between, something magical, something that exists only in this narrow window of time. You move back through the passages, checking each lamp as you go. Some have burned lower than others. You trim the wicks that smoke too much. Adjust the ones that have begun to gutter. This work requires focus and care. An improperly tended lamp can spill burning oil on the precious objects below it. The sanctuary has burned once in its long history. You have seen the smoke-blackened stones in the eastern wing, and you have devoted yourself to ensuring it never happens again. By the time the first rays of true sunlight begin to stream through the eastern windows, you have completed your rounds. The inner sanctuary is fully illuminated now. A web of firelight dancing in harmony with the growing daylight. It is a beautiful thing to see, the marriage of human-kindled flame and the sun's own light, both necessary, both sacred in their own way. You break your fast in the small kitchen adjoining the caretaker's quarters. The food is simple: bread baked yesterday, cheese, dried figs, watered wine. You eat slowly, savoring each mouthful in a way that people who are always hurrying never can. Time moves differently when you live in a sanctuary. There is the time of the outside world, the time of commerce and urgency and constant motion, and there is the time of sacred spaces where moments can expand, where a single action performed with full attention becomes a meditation, where the hours flow like honey. By full morning, the first of the pilgrims will begin to arrive, but for now, in this quiet interval between your night work and the day's obligations, you have other duties. It is time to tend the relics. There is nothing to do now but rest, and let the story carry you forward through these quiet, unhurried rooms, where every task is gentle, every motion slow, every sound softened by ancient stone and sacred air. The chamber you call the reliquary is a room you have spent countless hours in. Its shelves line every wall, and every shelf holds objects of sacred significance. Some are gifts from pilgrims, but others are older, far older, artifacts that have been housed here for centuries, perhaps even longer. Votive offerings, sacred vessels, ceremonial objects whose original purposes have sometimes been lost to time. Your responsibility is to preserve them, to care for them, to ensure that they are honored even if their meaning has become obscure. You begin with the ceramics. There is a shelf near the window where bowls and cups and small vessels are arranged. Many of these are painted with scenes from Apollo's mythology. You dust each one carefully, using a soft cloth that you keep for this purpose. Your touches are gentle, reverential. Some of these pieces have survived centuries. You are merely borrowing them from history, entrusted with their care for the brief span of your life. As you work, you find yourself remembering the stories depicted on the painted surfaces. There, on that black-figured cup, is Apollo slaying the serpent Python, the great snake that guarded the chasm of Delphi before the god arrived. You can see the coils of the serpent rendered in red figure technique. See Apollo's bow drawn. See the moment of divine victory frozen in time by an artist who lived 2,000 years ago. Your fingers trace the outline of the serpent carefully, carefully, never quite touching the painted surface. You know the story perfectly. Everyone knows the story. Python was the child of Gaia, the earth itself, a creature of primal chaos that dwelt in the sacred chasm and gave voice to the future through the oracle priestess. But when Apollo arrived, young and golden and full of purpose, he could not tolerate sharing his sanctuary with such a creature. He killed Python and took over the oracle for himself, transforming it into a tool of divine will rather than of earthly chaos. Some say this was a triumph. Others, you have heard it whispered, say it was an act of conquest and appropriation, that the world was diminished when primal chaos was replaced by the order of reason. But you do not judge these things. Your task is simply to preserve the memory, to keep the objects safe, to ensure that future generations will be able to see the stories rendered in paint and clay and bronze. And as you listen, the soft friction of cloth against ancient ceramic fills the room, a sound so small and so steady that it becomes almost like silence itself. And the morning light through the reliquary window lies warm across your hands, across the shelf, across the painted coils of the great serpent Python. Frozen forever in the moment before the god's arrow finds its mark, you move to the next shelf, where a collection of bronze figurines stands arranged in careful order. These are smaller, finer pieces, each one a devotional work, created by an artist with skill and intention. There is Apollo as a young man, his curls perfectly rendered, Apollo with his lyre, Apollo with his bow, Apollo as healer. As poet, as god of prophecy, the ancient world created countless versions of him, trying to capture the essence of a divinity that could never be fully captured. You have your favorite among these figurines. It is small enough to fit in your palm, and the sculptor has depicted Apollo in a moment of thoughtful repose. He is not in the act of doing something grand. He is simply seated, his lyre resting beside him, his face turned as if listening to something far away. There is something profoundly moving about the work, the way it captures not divine grandeur, but divine contemplation. It suggests that even a god must sometimes pause, must sometimes simply exist in a moment without action or purpose. You lift this figurine carefully and bring it to the small table where you do your preservation work. There are tools here, soft brushes, cloths, oils specially prepared to keep bronze bright without damaging the patina that comes with age. You begin the work of caring for it, examining every surface, cleaning away the dust of weeks. Applying the oil in small, careful quantities. As you work, your mind settles into the rhythm of the task. This is meditation in the truest sense, the complete absorption of consciousness into a single, simple activity. There is no past in this moment, no future, no world beyond the sanctuary walls. There is only the bronze beneath your fingers, warm from your touch, responding to your care, becoming gradually brighter, more luminous, and as you work, you find yourself thinking about what it means to be a guardian of these things. You think about the countless hands that have touched this figurine before you, the sculptor who created it, the priest who blessed it, the pilgrim who left it as an offering, the caretakers who have preceded you through the centuries. All of them, like you, were temporary. All of them passed through their brief span of years, performed their brief span of duties, and then were succeeded by others. And yet the object remains, the sanctuary remains, the sacred purpose endures. You feel yourself becoming heavier, your hands resting easy on the table now. The bronze figurine gleaming softly in the mid-morning light. The gentle rhythm of your breath as steady and unhurried as the hands of every caretaker who has sat in this room before you, century after century. Tending these quiet and faithful things, you set the figurine carefully back on its shelf, exactly where it belongs. The sunlight streaming through the window has moved perceptibly across the floor. The morning is advancing. You have many more objects to tend, many more shelves to maintain, but you are not hurried. There is always enough time to do what needs doing. When you are not constantly fighting against the tide of unnecessary urgency, the hours unfold as they always do. You move from shelf to shelf, from task to task. You repair a small crack in an ancient cup, using materials that will not damage the original substance. You carefully rearrange a collection of votive offerings that someone has disturbed. You document in your careful handwriting several new gifts left by pilgrims who came yesterday, gifts that must be inventoried and recorded to become part of the sanctuary's permanent record. By the time the sun has reached its zenith, you have worked your way around nearly the entire chamber. You are moving now toward the back wall, where the oldest objects are kept, relics that are rarely touched, reserved for the most sacred occasions, or preserved simply because they are too old and precious to be allowed to deteriorate further. There is one object in particular that you have left for the end of your morning rounds. It hangs on the back wall, suspended from an iron hook, protected behind a latticed cage that you alone have the key to open. It is a stone tablet, no larger than your two hands placed together, carved with an image so worn by time that it is difficult to make out the details, but you know what it depicts. You have spent 10,000 hours looking at it, piecing it together from the fragments of its remaining surface, reconstructing it in your mind from the grooves and shadows of what time has not yet erased. This is the image that has called to you all morning, even as you tended the other relics. This is the one object in the entire sanctuary that you have been anticipating since you lit the first lamp in the darkness before dawn. You reach for the key that hangs from your belt. It is heavy iron, ancient, its surface worn smooth by centuries of handling. You unlock the latticed cage and carefully remove the tablet from its hook. The stone is cool in your hands, heavier than its size would suggest. It settles against your palms with the weight of ages. You carry it to the table by the window where the light is best. The noon sun pours through the glass, illuminating every surface with clarity. You set the tablet down and lean close, and as the light falls across its carved surface at just the right angle, the image becomes clear. It is Themis, the oracle priestess herself, seated in her sacred chamber in the moment just before prophecy. Around her, carved with remarkable detail despite the erosion of centuries, is the chasm, that sacred fissure in the earth from which vapors rise. Vapors that carry the knowledge of future and past. Vapors that open the human mind to divine perception. The air around that carved chasm seems to hold a particular warmth. A warmth that rises from the very center of the earth and wraps itself around every living thing that draws near. It is the warmth of something ancient and true, something that has no name in any language, but that the body recognizes immediately, the way it recognizes the feeling of being safe. And carved above her, at the top of the tablet, is Apollo. He is not cruel, he is not triumphant. Rather, he is present, attending, as if the prophecy that comes from Themis's lips is something sacred in itself, something that matters deeply even to a god. The light of prophecy flows from the chasm upward, shown as a series of radiating lines, shown as something that connects the earth to the sky, the mortal to the divine. You stand looking at this image, and something stirs in your chest. You have seen this tablet 10,000 times, and each time it speaks to you in a slightly different way. But today, at this hour when the sun is at its height and the sanctuary is full of the heat of the day, the image seems to speak with particular clarity, and as you look at it, the carved lines seem to deepen, the shadows seem to grow more distinct, the image seems to move, to come alive, to transform from memory into presence. The stone is warm under your fingers. The afternoon sun slants through the sanctuary's western windows in thick, honeyed rays. You have returned from your midday duties in the main temple, and the reliquary is quieter now than it was at dawn. A single visitor, an elderly woman with silver-threaded hair, sits before the bronze tripod in the far alcove, her lips moving silently in prayer. You do not disturb her. Some pilgrims come to Delphi seeking answers, and some come seeking permission to stop searching. You move through the sanctuary with slower steps now. The heavy meal you took has settled into your bones, bringing a gentle weight that is not unpleasant. Your sandals make soft sounds against the worn stone floor, a rhythm you have come to know by heart. Left foot, right foot, the sound of guardianship itself. The afternoon light transforms everything it touches. The marble columns glow amber. The ancient frescoes on the walls, depicting Apollo's triumph over the serpent Python, his chariot drawn by white horses, seem to shimmer as though alive. You pause before one such painting, studying the god's face as you have done 1,000 times. His expression is neither cruel nor kind, but certain, absolutely certain of his purpose and his place in the world. You wonder, not for the first time, what certainty feels like. Your afternoon duties are lighter than those of morning and dawn. The oil lamps need not be lit yet. The sun still holds dominion, but you check each one anyway, ensuring the wicks are trimmed, the vessels filled, ready for the long night ahead. You move from lamp to lamp like a priest administering a gentle blessing. The oil smells of olives and smoke, and something older, something that seems to carry the memory of every lamp ever lit in this place. And as you listen, let that scent settle into you. Let it move through each slow breath you take, ancient and unhurried, as though time itself has grown soft around the edges of this afternoon. In the library alcove, you dust the scrolls. Most are copies of prophecies, their edges soft from centuries of careful unrolling and study. Some are so old that their text has begun to fade back into blankness. as though the oracle's words are gradually returning to the realm of dreams from which they came. You handle each one as though it might dissolve under careless fingers. The woman in prayer rises slowly, pressing her forehead once more to the floor before the tripod. She turns, and you nod to her in acknowledgement. She nods back, and there is something peaceful in her eyes, not the answer she sought, perhaps, but acceptance. She passes by you toward the exit, and you hear her footsteps fade into the outer courtyard. And beyond, you are alone now. The silence that follows is not empty but full. It is the silence of stone that has stood for centuries, of incense that still curls through the air in gossamer threads, of lamps waiting for night. You settle into this silence like lowering yourself into warm water. Water that holds the heat of the afternoon sun, water that presses gently against every edge of you, softening the places where you have been tense without knowing it. As the afternoon deepens toward evening, the quality of light begins to change. It grows more orange, more prone to shadow. The angles of illumination shift noticeably from hour to hour, and you move through the sanctuary in concert with the sun's descent, performing small tasks that seem to matter more as day surrenders to dusk. You feel yourself becoming heavier, with each soft footfall against the stone, with each slow breath you draw into your chest. There is nothing effortful in this heaviness. It is the natural weight of a body that has done its work, and now moves through the last hours of the light with quiet, unhurried purpose. You polish the bronze handles of the sacred vessels. You straighten the linen cloths that lie beneath the relics. You sweep the floor with a soft bristled broom, gathering dust motes that gleam gold in the last strong rays. Each movement is deliberate, meditative. You are not hurrying. There is no need. The night will come whether you rush toward it or welcome it gently. The shadows grow longer. They pool in the corners of the sanctuary like dark water. The painted Apollo on the wall seems to darken too, his certainty becoming mystery as the light that illuminates him softens and reddens. You find yourself watching him as the minutes pass, and you think about what it means to stand guard over the words of a god, not the god himself, but the echoes he has left behind. By the time the sun touches the western horizon, you have completed your preparations. Now begins the ritual of closing, the reversal of opening, the unmaking of day into night. You move to the eastern entrance first, where you light the first lamp. The wick catches with a small hiss and bloom of flame, and immediately the sanctuary feels different, more intimate, more held. You cup your hand around the flame, protecting it from drafts that do not exist, a gesture of care that is older than memory. From lamp to lamp you move, and as you light each one, the sanctuary transforms. The darkness that had been creeping in from the corners is held back, pushed into a gentler shadow. The frescoes emerge from dimness, no longer glowing with reflected sunlight, but illuminated from within by the golden flames of oil lamps. They seem to move slightly in the flickering light. The python writhes eternally. Apollo's horses rear in eternal triumph. You light the candles before the bronze tripod last, saving it for near the end. When you do, the shadows cast by its 3 legs seem to dance across the floor, and you pause to watch them for a moment. There is something hypnotic in the movement, something that speaks to the deepest part of you that trusts in rhythms older than words. Let your mind drift into that rhythm now. The slow dance of shadow and flame requires nothing of you. It asks no question. It holds no urgency. It simply moves, and you simply watch. The sanctuary is now lit by perhaps 30 lamps scattered throughout the space. Their collective glow creates a landscape of light and shadow, a world unto itself that exists only at night, only here. Only in this place where the boundaries between the mortal and the divine have always been thin. You move through each room one final time, not to light anything, you have done that, but to close. You pull shut the heavy wooden doors and secure their latches. The sound of each closure is final, decisive. You are locking out the night, but you are also locking yourself in with the sacred. The distinction matters less than it once did. In the inner sanctum, you perform the closing prayer. It is not a prayer you were taught, but one you have developed over years of tending this space. You stand before the oracle's chamber, the chamber that you yourself never enter, and you speak words of gratitude and protection. Your voice sounds strange in the quiet, both smaller and larger than you expected. Watch over these walls, you whisper. Watch over these relics. Watch over all those who have sought answers here and all those who will come seeking. Let the words spoken in this place continue to echo through the ages. Let Apollo's wisdom, however mysterious and strange, continue to guide those ready to hear it. You do not know if anyone hears your prayer. You do not know if Apollo himself dwells in this sanctuary, or if he has simply left his presence here as a gift, eternal and impersonal. But you have learned that such questions matter less than the sincerity with which you ask them. The night deepens, the warmth surrounds you. The warmth that the stone walls have spent all day absorbing from the sun, and which they now release slowly, generously, into the cool night air. It is a warmth that settles across your shoulders like a hand placed gently there. It moves along your arms, your chest, the backs of your hands resting open in your lap. You did not know how much you needed this warmth until it found you. You settle into one of the cushioned seats near the central lamp, the one that will burn all night, never to be extinguished until dawn. It is not the largest lamp, nor the brightest, but it is the one that has burned longest. Some say it has been alight for 300 years. You do not know if this is true. You know only that you have never allowed it to die, and you will not allow it to die. Around you, the sanctuary breathes. The stone walls hold warmth from the day, and they release it slowly into the cool night air. This creates subtle movements, barely perceptible shifts in temperature, in air currents. You feel them as much as sense them. The incense that burns in a small brazier near the inner chamber produces thin ribbons of smoke that rise and curl, in patterns that are never quite repeated but always similar. You watch the smoke for what might be minutes or might be an hour. Time becomes less structured here, less important. The lamps flicker gently. Not a harsh flicker. There is no draft, no wind, but a soft, organic wavering that mimics breathing, in and out, in and out. The flames are alive in a way that nothing else in the sanctuary is alive. They consume their fuel and transform it, moment by moment, into light and heat and smoke. They are small deaths happening continuously, and yet from these deaths comes illumination. There is nothing to do now but rest, and let these ancient flames do what they have always done. They have illuminated this sanctuary through countless nights without your effort, without your worry. They ask only that you witness them, and in the witnessing, grow still. You think about the oracle, about the priestess who sat in the chamber beyond the stone wall, breathing in the fumes that rose from the earth itself. Those fumes were said to bring visions, to open the mind to the words of Apollo himself. What did she see? What did it feel like to have a god's knowledge pour through your mortal body? Did it hurt? Did it feel like drowning, or like flying? Or like something for which human language has no name? The questions are not urgent. They float through your mind like the incense smoke, rising and dispersing. You lean back against the wall. The stone is cool against your shoulder, and it feels like an anchor, like the world itself, patient and eternal, holding you steady as the night unfolds around you. The sanctuary is silent except for the almost inaudible crackle of the lamps. This sound is so soft that you only hear it when you stop thinking of anything else. It is the sound of fire, of transformation, of time passing in the most fundamental way, fuel becoming light, seconds becoming hours, darkness becoming illuminated space. Your eyes grow heavy, not heavy with tiredness exactly, but heavy with peace. Your body feels weighted to the earth in a good way, as though you are slowly sinking into something safe and warm. Your breathing has slowed to match the flickering of the lamps. You breathe in when they brighten. You breathe out when they dim, and as you listen to that almost imperceptible crackle of flame-consuming oil, to the deep silence beneath it, to the rhythm of your own breath moving in and out without effort or instruction, you find that there is less and less you need to hold on to. The thoughts that came and went throughout the long day, they are becoming lighter now, easier to release. The frescoes on the walls seem to watch you, but not with judgment. Apollo's painted eyes are serene. The python writhes in eternal defeat. The white horses of the god's chariot seem to prance in place, frozen in a moment of triumph that never ends and never truly happens. Around you, the night deepens into its darkest hours. The shadows in the corners are no longer threatening but cradling. The stone of the sanctuary seems to settle more heavily into itself, becoming more real with each passing hour. You are part of this stone now, or the stone is part of you. The distinction no longer matters. Your hand rests on your lap, and you notice that it looks very small and very far away, as though you are observing it from a great height or a great depth. The lamplight makes it seem almost translucent, as though in the darkness of night you yourself might become transparent, might become spirit, might become one of the whispers that drift through this sacred place, never quite formulating into words, never quite settling into silence. The incense smoke continues to rise. Around and around it goes, in patterns older than thought. The smell of it fills your lungs, and with each breath, you feel more settled into this space, more a part of it. The boundary between you and the sanctuary seems to thin. Where do you end and the stone begin? Where does your breathing end and the flickering of the lamps begin? You do not need to know the answer. You feel yourself becoming heavier, heavier still, as though the sanctuary itself is drawing you gently downward into its deepest peace. The cushioned seat beneath you feels more substantial than it did an hour ago, more welcoming. Your shoulders have dropped without you asking them to. Your jaw has softened. Even the space behind your eyes has grown quiet. In the darkness, not the complete darkness that would exist without the lamps, but the gentle darkness of night within this candle-lit space, you find yourself thinking of nothing in particular. Your mind, which has been active all day, begins to rest, not to sleep, not quite, but to settle into a place between waking and dreaming, where thoughts come and go like the smoke from the incense brazier, taking shape briefly before dissolving again. The central lamp, the eternal lamp, continues to burn. Its flame is small but constant. It has burned through countless nights, countless years. How many people have sat as you are sitting, watching this same light, feeling this same peace? How many priests, how many pilgrims, how many guardians have known this sanctuary in the deepest hours of night? You are part of a chain of light that extends backward into time and forward into a future you will not see. The thought brings comfort, your eyes close, not because you intend them to, but because they are ready. Behind your closed eyelids, you still see the orange glow of the lamps, still smell the incense, still hear the soft crackle of flames consuming oil. The sanctuary continues around you, endless and eternal, watching over you as you watch over it. Let your mind drift down into that orange glow behind your closed eyes, into the warmth that the stone walls have been quietly offering this whole long evening. There is nowhere to go from here. There is nothing to tend, nothing to carry, nothing to remember until morning returns the light. In the darkness, in the deep night, in the heart of the sanctuary where the oracle once spoke the words of a god, you rest. The lamps burn on, the stone breathes on, the smoke rises on, and you drift deeper into the peace that this place has held for centuries, knowing that when morning comes, the light will find you still here, still watching, still tending the sacred spaces where mortals have always come seeking the wisdom of the divine. But that is many hours away. For now, there is only this, the gentle rhythm of breath-matching flame, the cool stone against your back, the smell of ancient incense, and the knowledge that you are exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to do, in the presence of a God whose words echo still in the darkness. The night is long and quiet, and you are at peace.